Hello there. Your old pal Stevie Coyle here with a K guitar I just can't wait to show you. Happy St. Patrick's Day, I suppose, if you consider it's worth celebrating the ruination of a perfectly good religion, an invading religion. Don't get me started. Buy me a beer sometime and we'll talk all about it. Oh, I'll wait just a second here. Oh, let me make sure. As usual, sorry. Making sure that the webcast is actually going out there. How are y'all? Enter and sign in, please. I'll wait for just a second here. Make sure that looks like things are happening. And feel free to sign in and let us know where you're webbing in from. It's always fun to see who's the farthest away and who's in towns where I've been. 5 folks have jumped in here. Here, let me show you this thing, and then I'll play it. There I was, minding my own business as usual, doing my thing at Mission Control over there, doing web work and answering email and doing social media. So much fun. And in walks this, in a case, and a guy holding it. A mid-50s K has a lot of numbers after it. It's a K8224B, the blonde. The B, I understand, is the blonde. 8224, who knows where those numbers came from? Who knows where any numbers came from in the K genealogy. It's one of those companies that the history of which is so Byzantine, you need a flowchart to figure it out. And even then, it's a little tricky. Pretty much Chicago, competing with Harmony and Lion and Healy and Valco, subsumed by Valco at one point, then reemerging as its own name. Japanese influence in the 60s and 70s. We're talking the mid-50s here. I think, according to one of my little pieces of paper here that I printed off the internet. Thank you, Al Gore, for that internet. It's very handy. Well, I think this is in 1957, but the fellow who owns it, who brought it up from Los Angeles for me to sell it, which is very cool, excuse me, he thinks it's 1954, but I think from what I can find out online, which is probably at this point one of the best sources, maybe I'll call up Fat Dog over there and ask him what he knows about these. He knows all about this style of guitar. Anyway, I looked at it and I thought, wow, it's really cool looking. As has been pointed out online already, when you see screws holding down the pickguard, you know you got a class instrument in your lap. Yeah. The descriptions of these guitars online, I found an old catalog, an old K catalog online, and this guitar is described as K Professional Cutaway Guitar. Cutaway. Mid-50s, mid-late 50s. This professional flat-top cutaway guitar is gracefully shaped and perfectly proportioned. It's big. It's wide across the waist, so it sits up on your lap quite a ways. The lower bout is immense, 17 inches. Large master size, you're welcome. Large master size provides rich tone and willing response. This catalog is really quite hilarious. It's on chasingguitars.com. I think it's where I found it. And it's just an adjectival bonanza. Lovingly, the pickguard lovingly screwed down with only the finest tungsten screws, pot metal screws. It's like the candy box, the Monty Python candy box routine. Adjustable rosewood bridge assures perfect action. It doesn't really assure perfect action. It assures getting the strings close to the fingerboard, maybe. But this guitar, one of the extra cool things about this guitar is the fellow loved it so much, he had the neck reset, which it desperately needed. A lot of guitars from this era, the mid-50s, production, factory-made guitars, cranked-out blue-collar guitars, are really great for slide, because they don't intonate particularly well when you try and use, like, the frets. So, the fella had this one reset, and here's what it sounds like. I picked it up. I'm going to play it in just a second. Hold on. I picked it up, and I thought, oh, it's tuned down. Maybe he's just, because of the string tension and this is before I knew the neck had been reset. Because the neck is probably coming up like that, he's probably got it tuned way down. It was to pitch. It just sounded like it was tuned down. I thought maybe he's one of these 432 guys. I don't know. Oh, I like that. Oh my goodness. What a lovely surprise. Because you look at the thing and say, oh, screwed down pickguard. How's it going to sound? It's going to sound thin. It's going to sound reedy. It's a really nice spruce top. Maple back and sides. Quarter sawn, which is a little weird, but it's all right. Bound fingerboard, which probably qualifies it as a professional bendy fingers, professional guitar. Did I finish the description? I think I did. A hand-engraved shell headpiece. The headpiece, check this out. Make sure I get it in the picture there. It's just beautiful. Look at that. Let's see. Steel reinforced, slim, hard maple neck, which is very nice. Feels kind of Gibson-y very to my hand. Hand-engraved shell headpiece. Hand-adjusted bone nut. This is a replacement saddle, I should mention, but everything else is original. Everything else is original except the saddle down there. And then carefully hand-rubbed and polished. Respectfully hand-rubbed and polished. For you, $89.50 in 1957, I think. The fella that owns it is asking $1,300. We'll see what happens. Make an offer. But it's worth its weight in gold because it's just a charmer. This is one of those ones where I'm thinking, oh, do I want to start buying guitars out of my own shop? I already did with one, but I think I showed you a few sessions ago. And by the way, these here Friday noontime Facebook webcasts live up here forever, apparently. And so you can always go back, hit the little videos link on my Facebook page, the Stevie Coyle personal page. I frequently bounce them over to Mighty Fine Guitars as well, but I just know so many more people over here that I do the webcasts here. And how rude I am, my God. There are 14 people here. I haven't even said hello. Hello, all 14 of you. Is Bruce Kaplan, how are you? Yeah, Bruce mentions, he says, K guitars, lots of volume, but only moderate tone. This has got great tone as well. It's this big brassy sort of, I don't know, trombone is what I felt like when I hit that low string. I thought, wow, it's got a real brassy sort of sound to it. Trying to talk about sound. Can't do it really, except louder and quieter. Everything else is simile, metaphor, analogy, something other than sound. Hi, Sydney. Very good. John Howe is watching. Great builder. It's a big guitar, John. It sure is. I'll say hello to everybody else along here. Hi, Bruce and Taya. Yes, Taya, I do want it. And I'm going to resist the urge. Can't go down this slippery slope. Even though in this shop, snooty upscale acoustic guitar shop, $1,300 is way bargain basement. The funk factor, it's very high. It's a delight to play. Neck is a little narrow, which may be my out. I may convince myself not to buy it because the neck is a little narrow to my taste. That'll work. No, somebody ought to buy this guitar. Somebody other than me. I've already spent my one mulligan on probably it's either a K or a Harmony or something, a Chicago guitar. A Valco, who knows, from the late 1930s, a funky arch top that just had tons of mojo. I bought that, and so I'm taking myself out of the running here. But this thing is really quite lovely. It's in fantastic shape. It really is. The neck feels great. It's a nothing fancy guitar, except it sounds like this. Right, Cooter, where are you? And like I say, a lot of guitars you find of this era and this size and this style and this brand, K, great slide guitars because the necks have come up so much you can't really fret them and have anything close to intonation. This one, the fella actually, for a $1,300 guitar, there's $500 worth of neck reset plus in this guitar. A little narrow. Yeah, I'm off the hook. 1 and 11/16, I'm a 1 3/4, guys, and you'd think a 1/16 of an inch, well, that can't make much difference. Oh, boy, it really does. And of course, see, now here I'm going to try and talk myself back into it. After 10 minutes of playing this thing, I'd be fine with 1 and 11/16, I used to know that too. Oh well, I'll give myself a guitar lesson later. Delightful. What a treat. What a lovely guitar. It's big. No doubt about it. Sits up high on the lap, and I know a lot of us, men, women, dogs, cats, all, as we get older, tend to get wider in various dimensions. And so the big guitars that we all fit around when we were teens and in college perhaps don't fit quite so well anymore, which is why this wall in back of me may be of interest to many of you. I call it the wall of small. Everything on that wall over there is kind of triple O sized, using Martin designations, kind of medium-sized guitars, triple OM-ish. The diagonal walls back here are the jumbos and dreadnoughts. This is the wall of small back here. This guitar is probably going to go over in the odds and sods section of the shop that has 12 strings. It has my funky little guitar. It has a Sting Turs guitar, the little size 5. It's got a harp guitar over there. It's got a couple of arch tops. so it'll probably be living over there. Come on in. Come on in, folks. I must be crazy. It's Crazy Stevie's Guitar Emporium, a.k.a. Mighty Fine Guitars, in Lafayette, California. Let me check and see if there are any comments or questions. Thanks for tuning in, by the way. Stevie Coyle here, Mighty Fine Guitars, Lafayette, California, 94549. Mark David Hamilton, how are you? Very good. Isn't it a beaut? It really is. Jim Esposito says, that is a very large guitar. I've known Jimmy for 50 years. And if there's anybody that has a flair for the obvious, it's Jimmy Esposito. Right on. Espo. David Gans, nice to see you. Are you doing your show at 4 o'clock? Folks, and Bunny Barnes. Folks, if you're doing webcasts...
I don't know that.
What did I say that set her off? Doesn't matter. Shh. If you do a webcast and you'd like to tout it here, by all means, this is a platform for toutilage of your own webcasts. Please feel free. I know David Gans typically does one at 4 o'clock Pacific time. Bunny, you do one at 1 o'clock. What time zone are you in? I forget. But I remember it's 1 o'clock here, so I think, is it 4 o'clock Eastern? I forget. Hey there, Roger Bolt. Like you, big and old. Yeah, more and more for everyone. Hi, Vincey. There's Vincey Kean, who just had a CD release. Vincey, tout your CD release. He's just had a beautiful CD released. Great stuff. Hey there, Bruce. Very good. Oh, Rick Meissner. David Lindley would want me to have this. David Lindley. Yeah, let's take just a moment. And if you're not hip to David Lindley, go run, do not walk, over to YouTube and look him up. You may know him as the high voice at the end of the Roadie song and Stay, and the lap steel for a lot of Jackson Browne stuff, fiddle, some beautiful fiddle stuff as well. Multi-instrumentalist from Southern California, originally from San Marino, right next door to Arcadia. And speaking of next door, he was in a band that rehearsed next door to me when I was a little kid. And he was Davey. We just knew him as Davey. And when we got our guitars, my brother Jamie and I got our guitars, we'd been playing on some kind of harmony, Emony, different many. Emony plastic guitars, some of those little styrene guitars a la Macaferri, sort of, with cowboys stenciled on the front, and a little box over here that you could strap onto the fingerboard, the plastic fingerboard, with rubber bands and push the buttons to play the chords. We had those and gotten kind of interested in guitar music. And on St. Patrick's Day, oh, it's my anniversary. Hey, Jamie. There's my brother Jamie. It's our anniversary. This is the day on 1966 when, I just realized that. It's so cool. Mom came home with 2 awful Stella guitars that we loved desperately. Really great. I'm pretty sure that one of them had a wood top at least, and the position markers stenciled and spray painted on, and kind of a faux wood grain top, black Stella. Also a long, turgid Byzantine history of that company and what it was and wasn't over the years. She came home with 2 of those from the department store, where they were the last 2 there, and Mom, being the thrifty Irish, French-Irish Catholic mother that she was, talked the guy into giving her both for $24.95 instead of each one for $24.95. Oh, they're just your last 2. She turned on the charm, she turned on the twinkle, and she brought us home these 2 guitars. Like I say, one of which I'm pretty sure had a wood top. The other one I'm pretty sure had a masonite top, because you could reach inside and feel the fuzzy side. Anyway, both of them had strings that were this high off the fingerboard, the Action, as many of you know. The Action was like this. And of course we had our awful little instruction books. Whichever one we had, I don't know if it was Mel Bay or whoever, started you off with, go tell Aunt Rhody, go tell Aunt Rhody, in the key of C, which makes no sense on guitar. Still pissed about that, can you tell? Oh, a tad. Key of C works great. Settle down. Breathe. Key of C works great on piano because you don't mess with the black keys at all. Makes perfect sense. On guitar, it makes no sense because you've already struggled through page 1, which is how to tune the guitar, which is nothing, especially back then before the advent of digital tuners. Nothing that should be left to an inexpert beginner. The instructions for that were go find a piano. I should have said go find somebody that knows how to tune a damn guitar. There was a tuning fork method. There was the little blowy nun thing. What was that little thing? Pitch pipe kind of thing. None of these methods tuned you up very well at all. Luckily, our mom was a great musician, and she could help us tune up our guitars. So we were way ahead of the game there. And then, so we were trying to learn Go Tell Aunt Rhody. There's an F chord involved. That's the second chord you bump into in the key of C. Terrible. The F chord scared everybody away from playing guitar. I still have people coming in their, admittedly, in their 50s and 60s and 70s, saying, I'm coming back to guitar, damn it. I'm going to learn how to play it, even though I got scared to death by that F chord back in mid-century modern times. So anyway, we took our guitars over to Davey next door and Steve, the guys in this band that played at Disneyland. They were really good, but they rehearsed right next door to us. And we said, oh, Davey, we can do our C chord and our G7 chord. We can't get that F chord. And he said, oh, the action on your guitar is like this. You're not going to be able to play that nice polite F chord with the bar or even the little bar. You're going to have to learn to hook your thumb over the top. And so we did. And thus began an era, for us anyway. And still to this day, rather than play a bar chord, hook my thumb over the top, which, tiny guitar lesson, if you're worried about playing guitar, rather playing bar chords, don't. Everybody thinks that's the sign of a good guitarist is somebody that can play bar chords. Not really. Tell you why. Here's one really good reason why. If I'm playing, sorry those of you that are not guitarists, but those of you that are, I hope you'll vibe with this. Here's an E-shaped A chord. I've taken an E chord down here in first position. I've reshaped it with my little fingers to free up my meat capo. Here's a capo made of meat. I'm freeing that up so that I can push this chord anywhere around on the neck that I want. If I play that with my meat capo at the 5th fret, say it. You know you want to. Meat capo. It's fun. If you play that at the 5th fret, you've got an A chord. Cool. But the minute you try and do something cool with this chord, a cool variation on this chord, by using your little finger, which is the typical method, and you take your finger out of there, you suddenly got an A7 chord, which sounds bluesy. You may not want that. But now you've got your finger free to do kind of cool stuff. Whereas, if you play, instead of a bar, instead of getting that low string with your first finger, you get it with your thumb, and move your capo, your erstwhile capo, over here to the top 2 or even 3 strings, with a nice flat phalange there coming across, and cover either strings 3 and 4 or strings 3 and 5, whichever you prefer. I like 3 and 4 because my thumb can do double duty here. It can play this note down here that I want at the 6th string, 5th fret. I'd call that 65, 65, 65. I can play that and kill off that next string as well with the flat of my thumb. And look, now I got my pinky free to do all kinds of cool stuff. A sus4 chord. Some of you may know as Pinball Wizard. Some of you raised Catholic, Jesuit, altar boy, Catholic. Here's Amen, Amen. Cool. You can use it over here on the 2nd string for a 6th chord, or a 7th chord if you can stretch, down on the 7th chord. You can play an add 9 up here. So the bar chord, the minute you try and do that, you instantly got a 7th chord, which may or may not sound like what you want. You end up with a weird A13 chord here, and an A7 add 9. No, that's a 13 too, isn't it? Less than 11. Whatever. My point is, you don't need to play bar chords, despite, and thank you, David Lindley, for that. Boy, my point, and I do have one, is that David Lindley got us hip to the thumb over action and saved us a whole lot of grief, worrying terribly about bar chords, which seem to be, with the F chord specifically, and bar chords in general, seem to be still scare a lot of people away from playing guitar because they've tried it once. When you're doing another tiny guitar lesson, and then I'll shut the hell up and urge you to move along with your day. If you're teaching yourself bar chords, because the B minor shape, the B minor chord, the A minor shape that's portable as well. And as useful, you want to get at least this note on the 5th string with a bar. Rather than practicing down there, which is way out there, where your arm is way out from your body, and where you lose tons of mechanical advantage, practice those chords up here. Capo like crazy. The minute you capo your guitar, you instantly give yourself a short scale guitar, so the string is going to be a little easier to depress anyway. Probably going to be closer to the fingerboard, which makes it extra easy. And then you can practice your bar chords with your elbow in close to your body. And then sneak it down. As you get more comfortable with that chord, sneak it down to where you've got your arm sticking out here, and you've lost all mechanical advantage. Well, I hear some people knocking on the door out here. I'm going to toddle along. 1957 K model 8224B, originally $89.50 if you had a time machine, but if you don't, this guitar is going to go for around $1,300. It's had a neck reset, which is the huge feature, and it's a sweetheart. Yeah, somebody come buy this thing, please. Save me from myself. Well, if you have any comments or questions, leave them here. I'm going to shut things down, and I'll be keeping an eye on the thread and answering any comments or questions you have. So do feel free. Do feel free to share this video with anybody you think might be interested in these Friday Noontime Facebook webcasts. Happen almost every Friday around about noon or shortly thereafter, I should say. And do feel free to pass those along. The Quitters, my trio, is playing in Mill Valley, California at the Sweetwater this Sunday. Check out sweetwatermusic.com, sweetwatermusichall.com. Google it. And it's a 6:30 show. We're opening the show for the Go to Hellman Band, the Sainted Hellman family that puts on Hardly Strictly Bluegrass every year. And I'll be back next Friday. So stay tuned, and I'll look forward to seeing you then. Your old pal Stevie Coyle here, finally signing off. No fooling. Dee 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 dee.